to Brookhaven Town's Communication Center. This is a long time in coming. Parts and pieces of this have been assembled over the last few years, and finally the whole ball of wax is put together, and we have a system that operates. The town is operating over 350 cameras throughout the town. They're aimed at one goal, at protecting our parks, our centers and buildings, and ensuring that people stay safe. This center is going to become critical in times of emergency. Gives us the opportunity to communicate with our partners at the village, county, and state level, which is absolutely critical in times of emergency. It also gives us an opportunity in real time to see what's happening as we monitor the over 350 cameras that we have in the town. It also gives us a sense of protection and lets people know that if you're going to mess with town property, eyes are on you. We also are, and I'm going to let the experts speak, I'm just here to kind of christen this center because it's a long time in coming. We also have the ability for all of our public safety personnel, which can be expanded to other departments. We have GPS tracking where we can know where our resources are and direct them in times of emergency to things in need. I'm joined today by Jane Bonner, who is the council liaison to public safety.
Yes, I am, Supervisor.
And I'm going to let Jane say a few words.
Thank you, Supervisor Romaine. And it is the morning. I apologize for that. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming. This command center has been a long time coming. And really what brought it to light was Superstorm Sandy and the issues that all of Long Island was struggling with communication with Superstorm Sandy. And I'd like to thank our Commissioner, John Meehan, and our Chief Fire Marshal, Chris Merman, for really putting their nose to the grindstone to making sure that this was done and done properly. The residents of Brookhaven have spent a lot of their hard-earned tax dollars on electing representatives that share their values to maintain and beautify and spend a lot of money upgrading our parks and marinas and other town facilities. These cameras, these over 350 cameras that are throughout Brookhaven on our facilities, in our facilities, enable us to make sure that nothing bad is happening, no graffiti, if it does happen, litter, dumping, all things like that. We now have a set of eyes to be able to maintain our very expensive resources that we have for the public to use. The supervisor already talked about the public safety aspect of it, and those go hand in hand. And for multiple levels of government to be able to partner to have access to these cameras so we all know what's going on only makes our community safer to live. And that's crucially and vitally important to everybody's quality of life in Brookhaven.
Let's invite up our Public Safety Commissioner, John Meehan.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you, Jane. As was said before, what you see before you is the result of 3.5 years of vision, commitment, and a lot of hard work. Certainly the commitment came from our elected officials, our town supervisor, Ed Romaine, our town council, other members of the town. So certainly Matt Miner, our chief of operations, was critically involved in the decision making that when the town was given the grant that paid for most of all of this, the town was presented with a lot of options on how to spend that money. And the supervisor and the town council and Matt all had this vision of coordinating and dedicating a large sum of that money to build this command center. So I thank them for that, to appreciate the work that's being done by our public safety officers and to take this town to the next step as far as coordinating its resources and keeping an eye on the investments that it's made. The hard work The hard work was done by a lot of people, some of them who aren't even here today.
Like
Our
Pete O'Leary.
Yeah, like Pete O'Leary, my predecessor, whose vision this
Why
was.
it's on the third floor, not the first floor?
Certainly our IT section, I see Jeff here, who's been critically involved in this whole process. Building the bridge between this very high-tech communication center on our existing system, something that was vitally important, working through the everyday issues that invariably come up when you're trying to put something of this magnitude together. So certainly, I want to recognize our IT section. Our finance department and our purchasing department, Tamara Branson and Kathleen Koppenhofer, have been critically involved. When you get a large sum of money from the federal government, there are a lot of rules that go along with that, and it's important that you stay within those parameters.
I'll let you tell them how much. I'll just say our share was only 12%, which made it easy.
Exactly.
And what the total grant was?
The total grant in total was almost $8,000. To build this command center was just $8 million. $8 million.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, correction. About
8,000.
About.
Good value, John.
We had a coupon. We got it cheap.
Comma in the wrong place.
Yeah. The command center was just under $1 million. Just under $1 million to build this, of which 12% only was paid for by the town, the rest by the federal and state government. So, but in order to make that formula work, we have to abide by a lot of rules. And certainly finance and purchasing helped us a tremendous amount with that. The building department, the building maintenance people helped us tremendously with running wires and taking care of so many different events that cropped up. So I wanted to recognize them also. A lot of people helped put this together.
And it's not only what you see here, but also I think there was wiring that benefited the fire marshal's office.
Exactly. The central air is an independent heating and air conditioning unit that's been put in. When we were trying to envision and work through some of the issues that we wanted to, what we wanted this system to be able to do, there were three things really we wanted to focus on. One was camera observation, one of the critical things. As the supervisor had said, we have 353 cameras now, and growing.
And it will grow.
It grows constantly, and it was becoming unwieldy. Unfortunately, we had a reactive system. In other words, we would find out about a problem, that an event happened, that there was some sort of issue or damage to our property, and we would search the cameras. That was something we wanted to be more proactive with this system. And now for the first time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we can highlight some of our problem locations and keep them on the screen where they're monitored by trained dispatchers. Very important step for us to do that. But to be able to bring all those cameras into one area like this took a lot of work, and that certainly was something I'm very proud that we're being able to do. Our communication system.
And it's not only the day-to-day, but we can focus on incidents as they come up and direct cameras to an incident response.
Yeah, for example, we had a problem at Michael Murphy Park. You'll see Michael Murphy Park up there.
Right.
And when we have a problem area, we can focus on that with a stationary camera, and then we can put it through a slideshow, some of the other locations. So we can monitor a whole bunch of cameras, something we weren't able to do in the past. Our communication system, all of the dispatching, all of the equipment you see here is only part of what we've done. All of our handheld units and the portable units in our vehicles have all been upgraded. I think we have almost 100 new radios came in that are part of this system, allowing our people in the field to talk to one another, to talk to different departments, to talk to outside of the town, to some of the county and the village departments, something we were never able to do in the past. So that was a big portion, improved communications. And the last thing really was coordination. We had a GPS system that was installed about 2 years ago. I think it's going now on all of our town vehicles. We now will be able to see them real time and help them to respond quickly to some of the problems. We even have them on some of our bay constables out in the water. So communications, coordination, and observation were the three key words we were trying to focus on here. Because of the work of a lot of smart people and Interlogic, who have been terrific in helping us work through some of the problems, giving us great ideas on what we need to include in this system. And I want to thank Lee Mandel for all the work that he contributed to this project. Certainly was excellent. So On behalf of everybody who did the work here, I want to say I really think you hit the mark. Terrific job, and I'll let Chris Merman now work through and explain to you what's on the screens behind us.
Okay, what this is called a hyperwall. It can be one large screen, it can be 50 smaller screens. It's very versatile. As the supervisor and the commissioner had spoke about, we had some problems at Michael Murphy Park in the past. So we want to monitor what's going on there. So we have a camera on 24/7 looking at where the monument is and what's going on there. We also want to protect our fields. Town's invested a lot of funding into the parks and the fields. So you'll see here we have Granny Road Park on the artificial fields.
All real time.
All real time. We're also recording, but it's real time. And our dispatchers are looking at what's going on there. They're dispatching, but they're also able to view the cameras. So they're seeing if there's a large group of kids showing up, things like that. They can send a code enforcement officer over there immediately, or the police department if they see that there's damage being done.
Or Shirley Beach, where we
Right.
had vandalism earlier.
Right. We
last
have
year.
we have Shirley Beach over on that side. Here we're showing Forge River Marina and Port Jefferson Marina in a different kind of layout here. In the middle, as the commissioner alluded to, the GPS system that we're utilizing now, we can track where our resources are real time. Right now are just the public safety vehicles. Within a few moments, the dispatcher can change that. If we have a snowstorm, we can track all of the plows, all of the vendors, track
All
the
of the
garbage
vendors,
trucks.
all of the highway department.
Yes.
All can
Parks.
be tracked. Because when you plow a road, even as a subcontractor, like my pickup truck
Yes.
and a plow, I have to agree to install GPS so that we can track all of our resources. You can see some of the tracking numbers here for some of the vehicles out in the field. And we can know where they are in real time. So if we have an emergency, we can assemble these forces and get the closest people there to the emergency site.
Michael, if you could scroll into the Bay Constable Safe Boat. And what's nice about this program is you can scroll in and give actual landmarks of where they are. So if we're looking at this safe boat that's out in the water, as he scrolls in, it changes the picture to actual satellite footage. This is real time, the footage is not. But we know that this safe boat, with who's assigned to it today, is close to Pine Path, but in the harbor. Okay, so we can track where vehicles are, boats are, any piece of equipment that's on the GPS system. Over on this side, we have what's called a slideshow. It's changing right now. We're showing the Rose Caracappa Center and we're showing the Mastic Rec Center. And that's one method of being able to view all the cameras in the town, is utilizing slideshows. And then we have Town Hall, where we like to monitor the lobby and make sure everything is going smoothly there. And then we have the Center Reach Park on the lower screen there. And we can bring it up. If the dispatcher sees something going on, he can immediately pull up a single view. He can pull it to his screen. He can dispatch officers immediately. So that's the whole point of this, is real time. Now, part of this center was to be able to stream information to our emergency operations center, which is across the hall. This all becomes part of an emergency operation when there's an incident. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull our Shirley Park view over. Okay, as part of a FEMA grant, the town recently took delivery of 2 drones. So drone technology is out there. We're utilizing it. We're utilizing it currently for funding, to document for funding, either post-storm or for repairs to different areas where grants are available. So we have one of our drones set up at the Shirley Beach. If you could have them, and this is real time. So we'll be able to bring whoever needs to see what's going on. It's recording also. Whoever needs to see what's going on Fire Island, we can dispatch 2 of our fire marshals over with the drone, and they can show the damage perhaps after a storm such as Sandy, or we have an incident where we have an overturned tractor trailer, hazardous materials incident, and the town administration needs to see what's going on, we can put the drone up and they can come down here, or we can stream it to their mobile devices, we can stream it to their offices, and they can see exactly what's going on in real time. This is happening right now at Shirley Beach. So we could just say we're doing a post-storm flyover of Fire Island, and we can see exactly what's going on there.
And we can monitor our open spaces, because we've seen people
Dumping.
dump in the open spaces or destroy the open spaces, and we can respond to that.
Right. So this is real time, streaming in. So this is just one of many, many capabilities that this Hyperwall, this communication center, the whole project is capable of doing.
You know, it really helps us protect our assets or the taxpayers' assets.
Right. It also helps with erosion control and a whole host of other things that planning looks at and environment looks at when we have to make decisions about where we're going to spend money or what we're going to do to address a whole range of problems, including rising sea levels.
We've just recently done a flyover of Weeby Beach for planning, is doing some work on applying for some grants, and we're able to provide them aerial footage at much less expense of what we would normally spend.
We got a lot of sand there.
Yeah.
We were able to work with our congressmen. They were dredging the intercoastal waterway in Mauritius Bay. That's a federal intercoastal waterway. They needed a place to put sand. We generously volunteered. I think we got about 8,000 cubic yards of sand on that beach, which was severely eroded, and we had a lot of flooded on Laurel Lee Drive and other streets around there. I tell you, made a huge difference.
So these are some of the capabilities that the communication center is able to do, the technology that we've installed, and it's constantly expanding. As time goes on and we're able to dedicate our time and our resources, we'll be expanding the capabilities of the room.
You're looking north towards the Commons River. No, you can really pinpoint and have an eagle-eye view of the entire town of Brookhaven, what is happening at any time. So if we get a call in, there's someone in, out, there's this guy, I see he's dumping construction debris in your woods, boom, we can get a drone over there, we can take a look at it, we can put the camera on, all of a sudden we can focus in, and it helps us prevent destruction of our open space. There's a whole host of uses that we can put this to that makes a lot of sense.
Do you want to open it up to any questions?
Yes, sir.
Take any questions?
Answer one of them.
If you go further up, you can see the Carl?
Carl, you have a question?
Yeah, you answered one of them, the cost. So how much of it was covered by state and federal grants?
We had to pay 12%. State and federal grants accounted for 88%.
The communications center, and it also encompassed bringing redundant HVAC into the building because of the energy efficiency of the building system shuts down at night. It's not a 24/7 system. So because this is staffed 24/7 and many of our other areas are staffed during an incident, we needed to bring in redundant HVAC in addition.
And an air exchange.
Right, air exchange.
You have a UPS.
Right.
Uninterrupted power source.
Emergency generator power. When this was all state, they really only ran the elevators, the fire pump, and the sewage treatment plant. We needed to do a lot of rewiring. That was all part of it. So around $950,000 was the total cost of all of this part of the project, and the town is paying about $120,000 out of that.
And how many dispatchers will there be at any one time?
They're depending on the status. If it's a sunny day, we're talking about 2 dispatchers. If it's storm, we can bring in 3, 4. We can also bring in additional with the new radios that we have. So it depends on the type of incident. Right.
And how much was the FEMA grant for the drones?
That I'd have to get you. I'm not 100%. That was part of the one FEMA, the $8 million.
Yeah.
The $8 million FEMA grant was broken down into different projects. So I'd have to get that for you.
Okay.
Yep.
But it really gives us an opportunity to put an eagle eye, almost, on every section of Brookhaven Town and respond to any emergency that comes up, or at least be able to evaluate situations to determine where we should apply our resources. The tracking that we do, the GPS tracking, we now know where all of our resources are. We can direct them to one area depending on the emergency. Snow plowing comes, we know when we get calls, my road hasn't been plowed yet or something of that nature, we can direct resources there. And that would be for the highway superintendent to do, obviously.
Jane mentioned that a lot of this was prompted by things that happened during Sandy.
Right.
Can you be more specific about whether communication?
There was shortcomings that we recognized during Superstorm Sandy. Now, I wasn't supervisor at that time. I was running in a special election taking place in November. And I think Superstorm Sandy, if I'm not mistaken, was October 26th or October 27th. I forget, 2012. When we came in, we realized by taking a look at some of our responses that we really needed to up our game so that we could be a big part of any recovery effort. This is the culmination of a lot of effort and input by our outside vendors, by our fire marshal, by our public safety staff, and by a whole host of others. This also allows us to connect with a county, village, and state resources, which is very important because we need better coordination amongst us so that our resources are more focused in any response to a true emergency.
The coordinated response is the game changer and obviously life-saving.
So this are all, for instance, the fire departments in the town linked up to this?
Not linked up to the hyper wall, that the communications end of it, we can speak to every fire department in the town. We can also, due to interoperability through the county's 800, the state's 800 system, which the county's part of, if snow plows are sent down from Albany County to here to assist, and they're going to be doing town roads, there are interoperability channels that we have here now, and we have the ability to speak with them and direct them to where they need to go, working with the highway superintendent.
And I should say something nice about Governor Cuomo, and I will say something nice about him. Every time there's a storm, that's okay. Every time there's a storm, his staff is on the phone, sends emails, if you need anything. So, I mean, they've been very cooperative. And what we want to do is when we do need something, we don't want to cry wolf when we don't need help. But when we need help, we want to be able to pinpoint where that help is needed, how much help we needed, when we need it to come, etc. So this system is going to help us immeasurably deal with emergencies, but also everyday incidences.
A responsive government is a good government.
Right.
One thing that we've learned from Sandy and other storms is documentation for FEMA reimbursement is key. So what the supervisor's office has directed us is if we know that there's a hurricane coming, we're doing pre-storm flyovers of Fire Island, of our South Shore and North Shore beaches. Those are pre-storm flyovers with the drones. We're documenting all of that. Then after the storm, we're doing post-storm flyover, being able to document what damage has been done. And that way, when the time comes for FEMA reimbursement, we have the documentation that's needed.
Right, because unless you're out there, like after I was elected, I immediately went out to Smith Point and drove to the inlet. I was amazed. All the dunes gone. It was as flat as a pancake. All the sand gone, dumped into the bay. It was incredible. And then we had a couple of breaches there too. You would not know that unless you traveled out there. A drone can obviously get this done in a matter of minutes, where it would take us an hour to drive out.
As opposed to sending staff members out to take before and after pictures.
There's also a great expense savings if the town was to utilize helicopter or small planes to do this. It's a great expense as compared to sending out 2 of our staff members with a drone.
Wow.
It's a big cost savings.
Anything else?
We wouldn't be able to use the drone in an emergency because it'd be too windy.
Well, what kind of emergency?
Like, if it's like-
During storm?
Yeah, during the storm.
No, during storm, we wouldn't
So you're
be
saying
able
after
to.
recovery.
We're not looking for that. We're looking to document, because one of the things with federal and state aid, if you can't document it, you're not going to get it.
You know, I can speak to that because I was elected. I was serving in office during Superstorm Sandy, and I represent mostly the North Shore. And from Miller Place to Wading River the bluffs were decimated. Our outfall pipes, where we manage stormwater, were destroyed. And because there was very little photo documentation prior to Sandy, the FEMA had to interview retired employees as to the work that they did over the years past to verify what the construction was for us to be reimbursed to bring it back to pre-storm conditions. We no longer have to do that now. We have the visual before and after, and we're finishing up, we're starting a new project in the fall in Rocky Point for a Broadway Beach for FEMA funding that the money has just come through in the past 6 months. And a lot of that is because so much documentation didn't exist. It had to be done through oral histories, you know, so that won't be the case anymore.
You asked about emergencies. The drone can be deployed to emergencies, large fires, brush fires, where the incident commander wants to see what is burning and where. We can deploy our mobile command unit. The drone can stream directly to that or to mobile devices. Hazardous materials incidents, assessing what's going on as far as what materials are spilled. There are a vast majority of emergencies that this will be available to. Just recently, our drone program wasn't up yet, but we had the person lost in Stony Brook. Unfortunately, he passed away in the woods, but the footage later on was reviewed on a larger screen, and the footage did show, the drone footage did show the gentleman laying in the woods, but that was not seen on the small screen, and that was an outside agency that was brought in. What we did, the town did, for the director of the commissioner, was our mobile command unit. We installed a large screen TV that now the drone can stream to that, so we can see the person laying in the woods or whatever the case may be. So it is available for that, and that's something that can definitely be done.
Definitely could save a life. And we had a huge fire a few years back in Manaville area, and you know, it started, I think, right off the lab property, and it swept forever. And to get a handle on that, to direct a number of fire departments that responded, a drone would have been very helpful.
We had
It jumped the road and waiting wherever.
Multiple helicopters were used for that, where a single or two drones, much less cost, much less resources.
And quicker response.
Yes.
As far as you know, how unique is this system on Long Island?
The Hyperwall system?
The Hyperwall, the whole thing?
Lee?
I'd say Brookhaven's the #1 most advanced system that we do work for pretty much every city on Long Island and every township, and Brookhaven probably has the largest deployment, most advanced deployment of any system that we've seen. Not just in the town, but not just in the island, but in the state that we've done.
So throughout New York State,
Throughout New York State.
one of the most sophisticated.
We're also the largest
System.
township,
Right.
so it stands to reason that what we have would be.
It's a game changer in our ability to respond to emergencies, there's no doubt about it.
And there's so many ways that you can deploy and use a system that, as years go by, we've mentioned the most obvious, and we've given examples of how it could have helped. But as we go further into this, I'm sure there'll be other ways that this system will be used and deployed to assist the town
Cameras
and its
there.
residents. Right.
Perfect example is, as technology advances, more recently programs have been developed where we do our pre-storm flyover and then we do our post-storm flyover. We run our data through a computer program. It tells us how many cubic yards of sand we've lost on that beach. So
You don't
it's-
have to do a guesstimate.
Right, it's incredibly accurate, and it's great for FEMA documentation. So as Supervisor was speaking about, as technology and time goes on, we're going to be able to expand.